Free. Go potty. Ollie. Oh. Good. Heel. No. Good. We're on a level 10 right now. Sit. So I'm going to leave him to sit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the handle of this. So what this is, it is a 15-foot long line. No. Sit. And Ollie really wants that toy. What we're going to do is we're going to heel. Heel. No. And if he goes to that toy, we use our negative marker. No. No. Ollie, heel. And I did roll up a little bit on that one. No. So every time he makes a mistake, we're using that no marker. We're using the e-collar. Sit. Heel. Good. Sit. Heel. Heel. So what the 15-foot long line is going to do, it's going to replicate what it's like to heel off leash. No. Heel. Because I can't communicate through the leash right now. But in the event of an emergency, I still have him safely attached to me. So anytime he makes a mistake, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark with my verbal no marker, and I'm going to correct him with the e-collar. So we're on like a 25. We don't have to be super high. Good. Very nice. Made a nice fast sit there. Earn a little bit of food. We dropped some food. That's okay. He's not going to pick it up. Heel. The bowie. So this is how I kind of want you to start practicing your off-leash healing. Now, yeah, I do still have my food with me. Heel. I'm not going to reward him for that one because it was a little bit slow. Good. What I am going to do is I am going to throw in a bunch of sudden stops. Maybe some sudden turns, right? Heel. So if we're out walking, I want him to feel like he has to pay attention because he never knows where I'm going to go. He never knows if I'm going to make a sudden turn, a sudden stop, whatever. Heel. In some of these moments, what you can also do is if he does get a little ahead of you, we don't have to say no. We can apply that e-collar until he comes back in position. Heel. I'm going to bring that e-collar back down to about a 12. Because he knows exactly what it means. You can see it when he feels it, and he goes, oh crap, I gotta get back in position. He knows. Good. Exactly what it means. He knows what he's supposed to do. He's just trying to see if he can get away with not doing it. Heel. Good. That was all him. No help from me. Heel. And yes, I do still have my treat pouch on me, right? Especially if my dog is struggling. We have to help our dog know what's right and what's wrong. Heel. Bring my e-collar up a little bit, just to a 15. So if he sniffs the ground, I use that e-collar a little bit. right? Just until he stops sniffing the ground and maintains that heel position. But this is what I want you to do. You're going to put on your long line. You're going to hold on to just the handle. You're going to let the rest of it drag behind you, right? I have no leash control of his obedience. But what it does, it allows me the safety to know that in the event of emergency, like this house we're at here, they tend to have a dog off leash in their yard with no obedience, no recall. And a lot of times he'll come running out into the road. And if Ollie went after him, it could be very dangerous. So I want to have some type of physical control until I have been able to demonstrate that he doesn't need it, right? So right there on that about turn, because he wasn't paying attention, he got out of position. So I used that e-collar until he got back into position. Heel. Good, that one was better, right? And so now our standard for reward is a lot higher. Heel. So if he gives me a slow sit, if he gets out ahead of me to the point where he's like, has to back up into that sit position, I'm not going to reward him. Heel. And so we can start to get into what looks like, a normal neighborhood walk with our dog, but I want you to be mindful that you still have to, stay on top of him. Have a high standard of what you expect. He's a very smart dog. He knows his obedience extremely well. So I want you to hold a very high standard. So he got out of position there. I used my e-collar. He felt it. He knew he was wrong. And he fixed himself appropriately. Right? So the ideal point I'm trying to make, heel, is that I don't want to always have to tell my dog, heel, 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 down, 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 sit, 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 like for all our dogs to do the things that are part of our routine. So if our routine is going for a walk, just like we're doing now, no. Right? He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows he's supposed to heel. He's trying to see if he can get away with not healing. He's trying to see if he can get away with sniffing. He's trying to see what he can get away with. No. And even that little deviation from the heel position, I'm going to hold him accountable for it. If I wait until he is way, way, way out of position, the whole time that he was getting out of position from the first millimeter that he left that position until he was a foot away, 2 feet away, 3 feet away, 4 feet away, and now I start to correct him, all of that time up to that point, he was getting away with it. So the longer you allow him to disobey, no, heel. That's a lot of repetition for him to learn he can get away with it. So spend a few walks like this. If you need to use your leash, use your leash. Sit. Sorry, just had to take a quick phone call. Now, what I am mindful of while we're taking these walks, because I know that our dogs are, they're living creatures who make decisions on their own. And so I know that he might decide in a split moment to run across the road, and it's possible at that moment that, the same moment that there's a car coming. So I'm trying to be mindful of where he is, what he's doing, and also paying attention to the traffic, because, you can tell your kids always look both ways before crossing the road, but still every year there's thousands of kids who get hit by cars and die, right? So, heel. And especially with our dogs who don't speak the same language as us. So on that one, I just went up to a 17. We have to know that they're going to be able to make those mistakes just as well. So right there, I used my e-collar because he didn't sit when I stopped. I just held on that e-collar button until he sat. As soon as he sat, e-collar went away. Heel. Right? So the more consistent you are, the more he's going to listen to you. Now he's way out of position, and I backed up and I rolled up that e-collar. So he didn't fix himself, so the e-collar went back on. He sees some type of critter in the woods, which is fine, right? He can look, but as soon as he leaves that heel position, now he's in trouble. Heel. So, you know, like there, he's looking in the woods, and he wants to go investigate, and as soon as he does, he feels that e-collar, right? And right there, I was actually just on a 15. So we don't have to roll up super high as long as we're being consistent. If we're not being consistent and you try to replace that consistency with a high level e-collar correction, you're just going to make him more tolerant to the e-collar, meaning he's going to be like, well, the e-collar makes no sense because sometimes I feel it and sometimes I don't. So I'm just going to, deal with it because it doesn't mean anything to me. So when we're not super consistent with our training and how we're using our communications, our dogs are going to start to blow off our commands. They're going to start to blow off the e-collar. And we're going to start to see a dog who's more disobedient. Now, when he's here, we are exceptionally consistent. We want you to try to be as consistent as you can be as well. That is going to be developed more through your private lessons, which is why we give you a lifetime of lessons, because consistency is a lifetime process, right? I know this morning you got to see all my demon children in the yard, and my German Shepherd's 12 years old. Both my Chihuahuas are 11, 10 years old, and so in their old age, they're just house dogs. That's why I keep them in the yard. They're not off-leash trained. They're not public figures. We don't go out and do stuff. I don't walk them off-leash in the neighborhood. I don't walk them in the neighborhood at all, right? So I don't really need them to be well-behaved. I don't know what you just picked up off the ground. But, I haven't been as consistent with those dogs because I have my primary dogs that are more my focus. And if you're not consistent, you'll see those behaviors and what they become. Heel. Oh, but I saw a car coming. But throughout this whole session, I'm not using the leash at all, right? He's going to make mistakes. But it's how we handle those mistakes that are, one, going to change the frequency of those mistakes, how often those mistakes are happening, heel, and how well he can recover from those mistakes. Do my dogs make mistakes? Absolutely. Do my competition dogs make mistakes? Absolutely. The dogs who I spend the utmost amount of time training, they make mistakes. The important thing is what happens when they make a mistake. Heel. Heel. So I want you focusing on how you use your verbal commands, how you use your corrections, how you use your correction markers, how you use your e-collar, especially if we're working towards more reliable off-leash obedience. Heel. Let's go. Heel. Mailman's coming. Heel. Sit. Good. Heel. We do always want to be careful of cars, especially if we're going off-leash. Good. I personally don't really walk my dogs on public roads without a leash on, even if they are perfectly trained. It's just not a risk I'm really willing to take. God forbid there's an off-leash dog or a wild animal or something that's going to now come and attack my dog, right? Or a car passing by too closely. So right there, I got him on a 10, just for getting a little ahead, right? I'm going to dial that back up to about 12. Good. But as you can see, even in this session today, heel, like, he makes a few mistakes, but the more he realizes, the moment he makes those mistakes, there's going to be a consequence, there's going to be feedback. Heel, the fewer those mistakes are becoming, the less egregious those mistakes are becoming, because we're reminding him that, hey, we are consistent. Consistency is very important. Heel. So that time he got out of position, I hit him on 11. Good. Good boy. Oh, that's a good boy. Yeah, you do a good job. This is a lot of work. Heel. This is just how I want you to practice. That's all. So put on a long line. Keep the handle on your wrist. Heel. And go out and practice your off-leash heeling. I want you really dependent on that e-collar. Heel. I want you using that e-collar to communicate when he's doing the wrong thing, when he's out of position. Have your food on you so you can let him know when he did a good job. Heel. You can absolutely use your positive and negative markers, and I highly recommend it because communication is key, especially if we're going to try and kind of clarify what our communication is between you and your dog, right? So I want to tell him the moment he does something correctly, I'm going to tell him, good. Heel. Right? If he does something incorrectly, he'll get a negative marker, which is our NO. But he's doing very good right now. Heel. More so, our dogs are going to train and work for us because they are hopeful of getting some type of reward, right? Not just because they're afraid of punishment. And he shouldn't really be afraid of punishment. Our e-collar is used as just an education communication system, right? Heel. When he feels it, he should know that there's something he's supposed to be doing that he's not doing. Got a fire ant. Heel. You would think in this weather, fire ants are all dead. But what we're going to do is I want to have you come in, do a lesson, and we're going to do exactly this. You might need to start with more food, right? You might need to start with more frequent rewarding. And that's fine, right? It's how we started here as well. And he's going to know this stuff because we've ingrained it in him. But like I said, every single day, he's going to try and see what he can get away with, right? And again, I'm not using the leash at all. He hasn't felt the end of the leash one bit this entire session. This has all been e-collar and our verbal communication. Let's go out into the field a little bit. See this beautiful, nice big field we're going to use. Keep his head up off the ground. If we are heeling, we are not sniffing. If he tries to sniff, he's going to feel the e-collar. And again, he's not perfect. He's going to make mistakes. But it's about identifying and communicating to him that what he's doing is a mistake when it's happening. The moment it happens. So every time he goes to sniff that ground, he's getting a little bit of e-collar. I have him on 13 right now. Sit. So I can leave him there in that sit stay. And again, I want you to practice this for a while on the leash, right? And if he can't do it perfectly on the leash, then we are not ready to take it off. So I want you practicing on the leash first. Good. Heel. Good. So you got a little distracted there. That was a big noise. Again, a little e-collar. Came back in. On that one, I did roll it up because he was blowing off the e-collar a little bit. Heel. Good. But we are back down with a 16. Again, I correct him when he sniffs the ground. No. Heel. So what I am going to do from here, I'm going to release him. I'm going to keep the leash on. I'm going to give him his release. I'm going to let him sniff if he wants to go pee, do whatever. Then we're going to do a couple of recalls. Free. You're free. Go potty. So he's free. He can go potty. He can do whatever he wants. So now he is allowed to sniff. But I'm just going to keep that leash on. The next step away from having the leash in our hand when we're doing this is once I'm feeling very confident, all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the leash and allow him to drag this along the ground. So that way, if I need to grab a hold of him real quick, it's a lot easier to grab this leash than it is to actually get a hold of him. I'm going to see if he wants to go to the bathroom. Oh, it's the landscapers, so they're going to be out here cutting the grass and things. So we're not going to allow him to dig. So we're going to recall him. Ollie! Heel. Good. I was actually prepared for him to kind of blow that off because he looked very intent on whatever it was he was sniffing, but he did that all on his own, no e-collar. Heel. Heel. All right, well, they're going to start doing the grass out here, so we're going to make our way back to my place. No. No. Heel. Good. So I did get him on 30 for that one because he's blowing off my e-collar at a lower level. No. Heel. There's a couple reasons why he might be sniffing now. One, I just let him sniff. So he's like, oh, now sniffing's okay? But I want him to understand, no. You can do that when I release you. Heel. But not when you're in a heel behavior. The other thing is, no. It's potential, there's a potential that when he's sniffing the ground, that the e-collar strap is a little looser. You'll find that the strap is loose when they're sniffing the ground, but I don't feel like that's the case. It feels pretty snug. Heel. It could also be an avoidance behavior because we got all of the loud landscapers out there. Heel. The grass is always going to be more enticing to our dog's nose than the pavement. Heel. Good. Heel. Good. Heel. Good. Heel. Something I like to do when I'm working with dogs like this is I set them up for a little bit of failure. What I mean is, so I'm going to have the e-collar pretty low. I think we're on 13 right now. I'm going to do a sharp turn. It is next to impossible for our dog to maintain a correct heel position through a sharp turn. So it gives me the opportunity to teach the dog that when they're out of the position, they feel the e-collar. When they come back in position, it turns off. So we're going to do it here. E-collar, comes back in, e-collar off. Okay. Now what I'm going to do on the next one is I'm going to do a less sharp, less sudden turn. And if he goes with me through the turn appropriately, now I'm going to reward him. Good. So he stuck through that turn very nicely. I'm going to mark him a reward. Right? So that way we're showing him both sides of the coin. When I make that turn and you're out of position, you feel the e-collar. When I make that turn and you stay in position, you get rewarded. Good. Good. Down. So he's in a down right now, but his right elbow is up a little bit, which I'm not a huge fan of. Good. There we go. Very nice. So he put that elbow down. I marked good the moment he did. And this is what we're talking about, like, down. The higher you set your standard for your dog's behavior, and the more consistently you give them feedback when they're meeting your standard or when they're not meeting your standard, is going to determine how well your dog behaves for you. You have to be fluent in the language that we've taught your dog. That's all it is. And that's what the lessons are for. The lessons are for you to learn the language that your dog now understands. Your dog is more fluent in the language than you are at the moment, and that's totally normal. And it just takes time and practice. All right? But thankfully at home, you have a partner to speak your language with and practice. Heel. No e-collar, no leash assistance. Just told him heel. He knows exactly what that means. Heel. Sit. Sit. Free. Ollie. So he's in a free. Free. Be free. Okay, I'm gonna take the leash off because now we're in a fenced-in area. You're free. Go be free. Okay. Now we're gonna practice our recalls. If I recall him, and he does a really good job on the first one, I'm going to immediately terminal marker. That's a YES. That means he's going to get his reward, and he's still in a free, or he goes back into free. Ollie! Yes! Oh, that was nice. Good job. Free. And this yard in particular is a very high distraction yard because this is my dog's yard. This is where my dogs pee. This is where they poop. This is where we use treats, and there's food all over the ground, and everything has been peed on, and everything smells like dog pee, and, you know, it's a very interesting place. We have a lot of different people training here with different types of food and hot dogs and, you know, beef liver and all sorts of good stuff. So there's a lot of really motivating things that are going to make him want to do anything but listen to me. Ollie! Yes! Heel. Good. Free. So remembering that when I say YES, it means you're getting a reward, and then as soon as you get your reward, you're automatically released. I don't have to release you. Essentially, the way we use that is the dog is essentially released from behavior to get his reward. But he can be out here, he can be free. Ollie! Yes! A little slow. Heel. So we're going to E-collar into that heel position and reward. We're on a nice low 10. Free. And again, he was a little slow because, again, there's that high motivator. He found something tasty. I probably dropped some treats over there. Ollie! No E-collar whatsoever. Nice, beautiful heel position. I can feed him in position, which means he's still in heel. Right, he's not released, which means he still has to stay here. Good. I can mark a reward. Good means he has to stay in behavior. And from here, I can go free. 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 If free is the word that he doesn't respond to right away, that's fine, because free is just his release to go do whatever he wants and go be a knucklehead. You're free. Free. Go potty. Free. So, with the word free, you're welcome to repeat that as many times as you want for him to actually get up and move around. But we want to use that anytime he is released to do whatever he wants. If we just let him bust out of the crate and automatically go into that free on his own, then he's just going to think that he can. And if we want to introduce or use our leash manners or our kennel manners, then he's going to have a lot of issues with that when he hasn't had to use them in the past, or he's gotten away with not using them sometimes, and now you're asking him for it, right? So it's the consistency that helps our dog be successful. Ollie! So he didn't come right away, so I got him on the E-collar. He stopped on the way, getting him on the E-collar again. Heel. So we're not going to reward that. Free. Let's try this again. So we're not rewarding that because he did a piss poor job of recall, but he did come. So we're not going to do anything crazy. Ollie! Yes! Good. Free. And even though I did give him that yes marker, I don't mind having him come all the way into that heel position to get rewarded. It's a really good habit for him to stay in. You're a good boy. You're doing a good job. You're doing a lot of work today. You do a good job. Free. And he's free to do whatever he wants. He prefers to do obedience because that's where good things happen. Free. If we go back to the same old routines we had before training, he's going to go back to being the same dog he was before training. So just kind of keep that in mind. We've set up systems and routines and habits that help him live more harmoniously as a member of your household within your routine. Ollie! No! Heel. So I gave him a no. I got him on a 16. And he came. Free. I'm not going to reward him, though, because I had to correct him. You're free. So when he makes a mistake, right, that was a mistake because he found something tasty on the ground. Now I'm going to recall him when he doesn't have anything more interesting. I'm going to have my E-collar ready a little higher. Ollie! Good. He did that on his own. It wasn't super fast, so I didn't want to use that terminal marker. That terminal marker is usually more exciting, more high value type of reward. Right, and I e-collared him right there for sniffing the ground, because the sniffing the ground is not allowed when he's in that heel position. We recall into that heel position, and from there he must maintain a proper heel position. Heel. So we're going to put the leash back on and go back up to the kennel. Sit. Thought he was going to go into the down, but he went into a sit, which is good. Thought he thought about it. He's a very smart dog. He's using his brain quite a bit. Get down here. Leash on, because I need 2 hands. I might just have him drag this up to the kennel. Heel. You do want to be careful when you're doing a drag leash. Heel. That it's not getting caught on things, not getting stuck in corners, under tires. Really common for these leashes to get caught under a tire. Heel. And then get stuck. So here I have no leash in my hand. We're essentially heeling off leash, but I do have that drag leash there just in case I need it. So what we like to go through is a gradual progression to where we feel comfortable with the dog off leash. Now, so we start on leash, of course, with a nice short slip leash or a 5-6 foot leash, so we can use that consistently. We use that while we're conditioning that e-collar. No. Heel. Right? Heel. From there, I'll do the long line, where I have the long line in my hand, but I'm not using it, where it's just dragging behind us, but I'm holding on to the end of it. After that, I go to a drag line. So that's the long line that's just dragging behind us. From here, we'll go to a light line, right? When we just go straight from on leash to off leash, it's a huge change, and our dog is very much aware of it. Sit. So I'm not going to reward him for that. That sit should have been automatic, but I am going to allow him the opportunity to respond